The lie you've been sold. Let's get completely real for a second and look at the brutal reality of modern dating. The vast majority of men are operating in total darkness, completely clueless about what actually triggers genuine, raw attraction in women. They are losing the game because they are playing by a set of rules that doesn't exist in human psychology. Look around you. Society has completely conditioned you to believe a massive lie, spoon feeding you a false narrative from the time you were a child. Hollywood movies, romantic comedies, and toxic social media feeds have constantly pounded the same shallow ideas into your head. They tell you that if you just get rich enough, build massive muscles, or drive a flashy sports car, women will magically fall at your feet. It is a deeply comforting myth because it gives men a superficial checklist to chase. It lets you believe that attraction is just a transaction, that if you put in the money and the looks, you are guaranteed to get the girl. But it is a dead end. And deep down, you probably already know it. The harsh reality that most men refuse to face is that you can have all the material wealth in the world, an immaculate wardrobe, and a perfect physique, and you will still completely struggle to hold a woman's attention for more than 5 minutes if you are hollow on the inside. External status is a cheap substitute for internal strength. When you are sitting across from a woman, she isn't auditing your bank account or scanning your resume in her head. She is subconsciously reading your nervous system. She is quietly observing the exact way you hold eye contact, the tone and pacing of your voice, how you handle unexpected tension, and the unspoken, raw energy of how you carry yourself in a room. She is looking for emotional stability, self assured authority, and genuine masculinity. If your internal state is weak, desperate, or constantly seeking her approval, no amount of external luxury will ever save you. You cannot buy attraction, and you cannot fake a powerful presence. If you lack that core masculine magnetism, the facade will crumble the second you open your mouth. That is exactly why this video is going to tear down the illusions and break down the exact psychological traits that women actually notice, crave, and respect in a real man. We are diving deep into the hidden behavioral triggers that govern attraction in the real world, far away from the fairy tales you see online. Some of these cold, hard truths are going to make you incredibly uncomfortable because they flatly contradict everything you thought you knew about dating and romance. Others are going to be so blindingly simple and obvious once explained that you will want to kick yourself for never noticing them before. Let me be perfectly clear. There are absolutely no manipulative tricks, superficial scripts, or cheap pickup artist tactics here. We are focusing entirely on the fundamental, unshakable behaviors and mindsets that naturally command respect and cause people to be effortlessly drawn to your presence. If you are tired of playing guessing games, tired of being ghosted, and ready to step into a position of absolute confidence, you need to pay incredibly close attention to every single segment. The average man will watch this, ignore it, and go right back to his old, desperate habits. And that is precisely why he will keep failing. By the time you reach the end of this video, the matrix will be broken. You will see human interactions in a completely different light, and you will finally possess the exact blueprint of what it takes to unlock genuine desire, lasting interest, and deep respect. Eliminate absolute availability. Here is a brutal psychological truth that most men refuse to acknowledge until it is entirely too late. Being available to a woman 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, is the fastest way to make yourself completely invisible. We have been conditioned to believe that showing endless attention, being instantly reachable, and bending our schedules to accommodate a woman is a sign of romantic devotion. In reality, it is a sign of desperation, and it acts as an absolute value killer. Think about how human psychology works at its most foundational level. As human beings, we are hardwired to place a high premium on things that are rare, difficult to obtain, and strictly limited. Conversely, when a resource is completely infinite, easily accessible, and thrown at us without any effort on our part, we completely stop valuing it. It becomes part of the background noise. It becomes expected, routine, and eventually entirely boring. The exact same rule applies to your time, your energy, and your presence. The second you establish yourself as a man who has nothing better to do than stare at his phone waiting for her text, or a man who will instantly abandon his responsibilities the moment she shows a shred of interest, you have handed over all your leverage. You have destroyed the mystery, eliminated the challenge, and killed the romance. Predictability is the ultimate executioner of raw attraction. Women are naturally, instinctively drawn to men who possess a sense of gravity, men who are deeply occupied with their own ambitions, focused on their career progression, and actively building a lifestyle that does not completely pause the second a female enters the equation. Let's be entirely transparent here. This is absolutely not about playing childish, manipulative mind games, pretending to be busy, or sitting by a stopwatch counting down the minutes before you are allowed to reply to a message. This is about having an actual spine, establishing baseline self respect, and fiercely protecting your own time. It means your life has a concrete structure, and that structure does not bend or break for anyone on a whim. If a woman reaches out to you at the last minute and asks you to meet up on a Friday night, but you already have plans to hit the gym, work on a personal project, or catch up with your close friends, you do not cancel those commitments under any circumstances. You do not compromise your schedule just to seize a fleeting opportunity. Instead, you speak with absolute calm authority and say something as direct and uncomplicated as, "I'm completely tied up tonight, but let's make something happen tomorrow instead." Look at what that tiny, subtle boundary automatically communicates to her subconscious mind. Without you bragging or over explaining yourself, it instantly signals that your time is a valuable commodity that must be scheduled and respected. It proves that you have a purpose driven life that moves forward with momentum, regardless of whether she is in it or not. This simple act of boundary setting immediately triggers an intense sense of healthy curiosity. She starts wondering what you are doing, who you are with, and why she cannot just have access to you whenever she feels like it. That exact psychological gap creates a beautiful, natural tension and excitement. When you stop suffocating a woman with your constant, overbearing availability, you finally give her the essential breathing room required to actually miss you, wonder about you, and invest her own genuine effort into earning a place on your calendar. Energy dictates attraction, not looks. Every single day, in every city and social setting around the world, you can witness a phenomenon that drives average men completely insane. An ordinary, average looking guy walks out of a room with a highly intelligent, exceptionally desirable woman on his arm, while a genetically blessed, conventionally handsome man sits alone in a corner, completely ignored. Most men look at this and assume it is a fluke, or they invent bitter excuses about money and status to cope with their own confusion. But the reality is far more profound and entirely psychological. Women read behavioral energy long before they ever evaluate physical appearance. Your looks might get you a passing glance for a fraction of a second, but your energy is what dictates whether a woman feels an intense magnetic pull toward you or an immediate urge to walk away. Genuine confidence functions as an invisible beacon. It communicates to a woman's subconscious mind that you possess high self worth, that you have the emotional fortitude to handle pressure, and that you are stable enough to be trusted as a leader. Do not confuse this with arrogance, which is nothing more than a loud, obnoxious mask designed to hide a fragile ego. True self assurance is completely quiet. It is the unshakable ability to move through the world with a clear, definitive sense of purpose, entirely detached from the opinions of others, and completely free from the exhausting need for external validation. When you possess that grounded energy, you do not need to perform, brag, or convince anyone of your value. Your presence speaks for itself. The hidden tragedy is that most men are completely unaware of how aggressively their deep seated insecurities are leaking out into the environment through tiny, nonverbal habits every single time they interact with a woman. You might think you are hiding your anxiety behind a nice outfit or a rehearsed script, but your body language is constantly betraying you. Insecurity screams through the subtlest movements, hesitating for several seconds before making a simple decision, over apologizing for minor things that do not require an apology, fidgeting with your clothes, or constantly darting your eyes around a room to check if other people are approving of your behavior. Women are hyperperceptive and highly attuned to social dynamics. They pick up on these microscopic signals of weakness instantly, and it kills romantic desire faster than a bad haircut ever could. To completely reverse this dynamic, you must change how you project your presence from the moment you step into an interaction. When you speak to a woman, plant your feet, eliminate nervous twitching, maintain steady, unblinking eye contact, and speak with a calm, deliberate authority. Stop rushing your sentences out of fear that she will lose interest, and completely own your perspective without shifting it to agree with hers. Most importantly, you must aggressively purge validating, approval seeking questions from your vocabulary. Never ask things like, "Does that make sense?" or "Do you think my job is cool?" Because those phrases practically beg her to evaluate and validate your worth. Instead, simply state your reality as an absolute fact. Frame your career, your hobbies, and your daily life as narratives that are already profoundly fulfilling on their own, completely independent of whether she approves of them or not. The moment you stop treating your physical appearance as a handicap and start mastering the internal frequency you project, your masculine energy becomes a force that is absolutely impossible to ignore. Kill the nice guy routine. Let's step up and completely shatter a massive, widespread delusion that has kept millions of men trapped in the friend zone for decades. The belief that being a compliant, overly agreeable, and endlessly sweet guy will automatically make you attractive to women. It is an absolute lie, and continuing to believe it will ruin your dating life. There is a massive, life altering difference between being a genuinely kind, respectful individual and being a spineless people pleaser who actively avoids conflict at all costs just to keep a woman smiling. The first guy has character. The second guy is just a doormat. When you live your life as a people pleaser, you are constantly putting on an act. You are hiding your true thoughts, nodding along with things you secretly disagree with, and bending over backward to satisfy every single whim, just out of fear that she might get upset or walk away. Women are completely repelled by this behavior because they see right through it. They know it isn't authentic. When you say yes to absolutely everything, agree with every single opinion she utters, and refuse to ever state your own preferences, you are broadcasting a loud message to her subconscious mind that you have zero backbone and that your entire sense of self worth is desperately dependent on her validation. Chasing approval like a hungry dog does not spark romance. It reveals a profound, deep seated insecurity, and it quickly breeds a mixture of frustration, boredom, and ultimate disrespect instead of genuine desire. Truly magnetic, high value men understand that real attraction requires friction, and they are exceptionally firm in who they are. They are perfectly capable of being polite and respectful, but they also possess rigid, unshakable personal boundaries. They know exactly how to look a woman in the eyes and say a flat, unapologetic no when a boundary is crossed, or when they genuinely disagree with a situation. They do not compromise their core values, their schedule, or their personal beliefs just to appease a woman or smooth things over. Think about how the typical nice guy acts the moment he starts dating someone new. He instantly drops his hobbies, stops going to the gym, sacrifices his time with his closest friends, and puts his long term career goals on complete standby just to remain hyper available to her. That is an immediate attraction killer because it shows you have no internal anchor. A woman does not want to date a submissive mirror who simply reflects her own personality back at her and nods along like a puppet at every single word. She wants an actual partner, a strong, stable, and solid masculine presence who can firmly stand his ground against the storms of life. and who can handle a disagreement without crumbling into an emotional mess. Stop shrinking your personality, diluting your opinions, and silencing your true voice just to avoid a little bit of conversational friction. A man of strength who possesses a real backbone and authentic self respect will always command infinitely more raw desire and deep fascination than a lifetime of passive, weak compliance ever could. Protect your autonomy. It is time for some incredibly serious, tough love because too many men are living their lives on complete autopilot, willingly handing over the steering wheel of their entire existence the absolute second they become interested in a woman. They allow a relationship to completely dictate their daily schedule, dictate their emotional mood, and alter their long term life choices. They operate under the tragic delusion that complete accommodation and total submission are the ultimate proofs of romantic devotion. They believe that by having zero personal preferences, asking her permission for every minor decision, and letting her mold their entire routine, they are proving what amazing, dedicated partners they are. But let's look at the harsh, unfiltered reality of human nature. This submissive behavior does not make you look devoted. It makes you look profoundly boring, completely predictable, and incredibly easy to manage. You are essentially turning yourself into a safe, flavorless utility rather than an exciting, dynamic man. When you allow your life to be entirely controlled, managed, and curated by someone else, you instantly lose your masculine edge and your personal power. A woman might appreciate the sheer convenience of having total control and the upper hand initially, because it means she always gets her way. But her respect and romantic attraction for you will evaporate into thin air almost immediately. A woman cannot truly desire a man she can completely manipulate and predict with 100% accuracy. True, lasting attraction thrives entirely on raw independence and personal autonomy. When you actively maintain a robust social circle of high quality friends, dedicate yourself to separate passions, and relentlessly hunt down your own individual goals, you remain a dynamic, multidimensional person. You project a loud, clear, and unshakable psychological signal to her subconscious mind that your happiness, your fulfillment, and your internal peace are entirely self generated and absolutely not up for negotiation. Your life is an accelerating train, and while she is welcome to jump on board, the train does not stop running just because she is having a bad day or changing her mind. You must make a firm, non negotiable pact with yourself right now to never, under any circumstances, cancel your pre existing life to accommodate someone else's sudden, chaotic whims or last minute demands. If you have a business to build, a skill to master, a workout to finish, or a prior commitment to honor, you execute those tasks with absolute certainty and zero hesitation. Lead your own path with unshakable conviction. When a woman stands back and observes that your world is actively expanding, thriving, and generating immense value completely independent of her input or presence, it triggers a powerful evolutionary response. She naturally, instinctively wants to step inside that thriving world and become a part of your momentum. Stop acting like a submissive follower who is just happy to be included. Take back your personal sovereignty and start aggressively directing your own life. Introduce challenge and mystery. Showering a woman with nonstop, excessive compliments is the fastest and most efficient way to make yourself completely predictable, boring, and utterly forgettable. Most men fall into the trap of using constant flattery because they are terrified of rejection and falsely believe that pouring out endless praise will make a woman like them more. But in the real world of human psychology, constant validation completely destroys the natural tension and excitement required to build genuine romantic interest. When you tell a woman how perfect she is every single time you see her, or praise every minor detail of her appearance, you leave absolutely nothing for her to discover. You eliminate the stakes. True, lasting attraction relies heavily on a sense of intrigue, a healthy dose of playful resistance, and genuine emotional depth. Women do not want to talk to an echo chamber or a fan club. They crave dynamic, high energy interactions where they actually have to think, laugh, use their wit, and occasionally defend their own opinions against a man who isn't afraid to push back. When you respectfully and playfully challenge a woman in a conversation, whether by teasing her about a quirky habit or disagreeing with her take on a movie, you immediately stand out from the crowd. You signal that you have intellectual sharpness, a sharp sense of humor, and an independent mind. Those traits possess a massive psychological pull that is infinitely more powerful and intoxicating than repeating the phrase, "you look beautiful," 100 times like a broken record. The exact same rule applies to your own personal narrative. You must stop treating yourself like a completely open book that anyone can read in one sitting. One of the biggest mistakes men make when they are anxious to impress is oversharing their entire life history, dumping their deepest emotional vulnerabilities, and mapping out their exact daily schedule on a very first date. Doing this completely kills the narrative arc of the interaction. You essentially give away the ending of the movie in the first 5 minutes, entirely eliminating the thrill of the chase. True, unshakable confidence means knowing your intrinsic value so deeply that you feel absolutely zero internal urge to brag, over explain your actions, or prove how interesting you are to a new person. You do not need to lay out all your achievements on a silver platter just to seek approval. Instead, you should intentionally allow your life story to unfold gracefully, revealing your layers gradually over an extended period of time. Let her ask the questions. Let her do some of the conversational heavy lifting. And let her genuinely wonder what you are up to when you are not around. By pacing the reveal, you allow a healthy anticipation and emotional investment to build naturally in her mind. When you are highly selective and disciplined about what you share and when you share it, your attention, your history, and your approval cease to be a cheap, free commodity. Instead, they transform into a premium prize that must be earned through mutual effort, respect, and time.